Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam here, taking up the Hindu newspaper analysis for 5th January 2026. Now, before I start the session, please do let me know that I am audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please give the confirmation. Am I audible and visible? Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So for today's session, I've taken a total of 11 articles. Of these 11 articles, 9 are from the Hindu newspaper daily edition, and the two articles I've taken, the article number 8 and 9, are from Indian Express. This has been done in order to ensure that the discussion will be comprehensive and you'll be able to answer the questions which are asked in the prelims as well as in the mains examination. If you're liking the initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Now, before I start the session, here is a very important announcement. Those of you who are planning to write the 2027 Civil Services examination, this is the right time to start your preparation. And all our courses right now are available at a discount of 60%. Whatever is the price mentioned in the website, use the code IAS English and you will receive this particular discount. And not just this, once you purchase the courses which are 18 months and above, you're also eligible for CSE Assure. If you by any chance do not clear in your exams, then your next attempt is on us. Do not miss out the opportunity. Those interested in enrolling into our courses, check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. Let me start the discussion. First important article, Women Labor, the struggle to count women's labor. Now, what are the important points? Listen to me very carefully. The National Statistical Office, NSO. There is a National Statistical Office which functions under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. For the first time, they conducted a survey called as Time Use Survey, TUS, Time Use Survey. For the year 2019 and 2020, for the first time ever, they conducted a survey called as Time Use Survey. What does the Time Use Survey basically provide the information? It will give you information regarding how much of the day-to-day activities, the time you spend on these day-to-day activities. How much time do you spend? Right? How much time do you spend on economic activities which are contributing for revenue generation? And how much time do you spend on, let's say, the household activities, such as taking care of the elderly people, taking care of the children, right? Basically filling the drinking water, etc. So for the first time ever, for 2019 and 2020, the data was collected, the data was published. And the recent data publication has been done for 2024. According to the time use surveys, which has been conducted in India and many other countries. In case of India, what is the implication? It simply shows that when you talk about care economy, what do you mean by care economy? Essentially covering the household activities such as cooking, drinking water, refilling, taking care of the children, elderly people, etc. When you talk about care economy, most of the activities in the care economy are handled by women. Most of them are handled by women. Do men participate in the care economy? Of course, yes, but the participation is very negligible. Very negligible. Please look at the time use survey results published for the year 2024. 75% of the male and 25% of the female participated in employment related activities, which is basically larger in the context of male compared to 2020 and right the lesser for female compared to the results published in 2020. But more importantly, have a look at the data here. 41% of the women participated in the care economy compared to 21% in the context of the male participation. And if you want to understand in terms of numbers, according to the TUS 2020, women spend around 34 hours in household maintenance, care for children, elderly, etc. Compared to that, male population hardly spend around 3.6 hours. So there is a huge disproportionate representation in terms of activities, that is a care economy that is being conducted in the household every day between men as well as women. Now, why is this particular data important for you? Why you should remember? Listen to me carefully. Whenever there is a discussion related to, let's say, the household activities and the contribution done to the household maintenance, most of the times the predominance or the importance is given to the male population. The male of the household will basically talk, basically stating that I am the breadwinner. I am the one who is bringing the bread for the family. I am the one who is earning. I am taking care of everybody else. Whereas the same amount of work is also done by women. But the problem in case of care economy in most of the households in India is that it is not monetized. Please remember the term. It is not monetized. What do you mean by monetized? If I do certain work in the household for my own household, I'm not paid money for that. For example, let's take the example right now. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are having breakfast, and I'm 99% sure in most of your cases, the breakfast was prepared by your mom. Now, when breakfast was prepared by your mom and she basically brought it to your table, study table, because beta or beti is preparing for UPSC, they handed it over. They said even the spoon is there, and the mom said, right, don't worry, I'll bring water also. Right, once you are done, please tell me, I'll bring the coffee also, tea also with the biscuit. Please tell me, have any of you paid money for that? No. It is unpaid work. It is an unpaid work. So argument is, in case of most of the care activities that are provided in the household, it is basically not monetized. And the problem with that is, with this idea of a monetization, non-monetization, we basically give less importance to these household activities. And in case of India, just like many other countries, the importance given to the women's work is right lesser. Their contribution to running of the household is lesser. And most importantly, when you calculate the overall economic activities, when you talk about overall economic activities, that is generally represented in the form of gross domestic product, GDP. At the gross domestic product, this is not monetized. The household work is not monetized, hence not counted. Right? And because the focus is always on the GDP. For example, government of India says we want to be the third largest, right? Let's say GDP in the global market. Many of the states argue that they want to make their state worth $1 trillion gross state domestic product by 2030, etc. Because our emphasis is always on the GDP, this kind of a non-monetized work is ignored. This kind of a non-monetized work is ignored, not accounted, and the people who are contributing to this non-monetized work are also ignored. How so? Whenever it is question of, let's say, budget making, think of it. When the government talks about budgetary process, and we have entered into month of January now, very soon there will be a lot of discussion associated with the upcoming union budget. So whenever there is a discussion about making budgets, be it at the state level, be it at the union level, the focus will be on more GDP. What kind of activity should be promoted? Which kind of industries should be supported? Because the argument is the household work is not monetized, hence give it less importance. And the people who are contributing to that are also given less importance in terms of allocation of funds, in terms of formulation of policy, etc. Now, is it the same in other countries? Not necessarily. Please have a look at these examples. And if at all a question is asked on this, please mention these examples. Look at the country Bolivia. Article 338 in the Bolivian constitution recognizes that work at home is an economic activity. The Article 338 recognizes this as an economic activity that creates value addition and produces the social welfare. And it is entitled, the people who contribute to this kind of activity, they are entitled for social security. This is in Bolivia. Another example, Trinidad and Tobago. Here also, there is an act, Counting Unremunerated Work Act of 1996, which requires the statistical authorities to basically find how much of these care activities are conducted and create a monetary value based on certain statistical tools, provide this certain monetary value. And another example, Argentina. Argentina has also enacted a particular program wherein employment contracts for domestic workers are provided, are treated as contractual workers, and they also get certain social security benefits. So you can see around the world, there are examples of countries, there are examples of economies where they have recognized that there is certain part of the economy, household care activities, which is not being remunerated, which is not counted. So we need to provide social welfare to such population. We need to provide certain benefits to that kind of, let's say, population which contributes to this activity. In case of India, what is the status? Right now, there is no methodology, there is no technology or the tool that is used by the ministry to basically calculate and use this particular data in calculation of value addition or the gross value addition, which is further used for the calculation of GDP for India. Right? And please understand, there is one more argument here. Should the government start accounting for this activity? Of course, yes. They should start accounting for this activity. Reason being, the government has introduced the concept of gender-based budgeting from the year 2005 and 6. Right? It has introduced. Good initiative, good move by the government. But in order to allocate funds, in order to utilize the funds, in order to ensure that sufficient funds are allocated, you need to first and foremost have data. You need to first and foremost understand how much of the part of the care economy is contributed by the housemakers. That's a reason we need to first and foremost enumerate, collect this particular data. And point number two, in the context of a lot of these particular cases, judiciary cases, for example, divorce cases, there is a judgment or the order which has been issued very recently by the High Court of Tamil Nadu or High Court of Madras, which has stated that there is a need to understand the fact that women who are housemakers also contribute in terms of creation of assets by the men. I'll repeat the statement here. Listen to me carefully. I'm not talking about the abuse of this particular case or abuse of these provisions. I'm talking about the judgment issued by the High Court. It states that the woman takes care of the household, takes care of the elderly, takes care of, right, let's say all the other activities that contributes indirectly to the productivity of the man. And because the food is available, because the clothing, right, ironed out clothing is available, because the parents are taken care, children are taken care, now the person or the man of the house can go outside, work and get the money. Right? So in terms of contribution, yes, there is a significant role played by the woman of the household, which is contributing to creation of the assets. So these are certain very important points associated with the first article, women labor count. Now, based on this, please have a look at this particular question and tell me what is the correct answer for this MCQ. Consider the following statements. The time use survey is conducted by NSO. NSO functions under the CSO, which in turn functions under MOSPI. The first TUS was conducted in 2024. How many of the statements are true? Please do let me know. How many of the three statements are correct? Please do let me know. Let's start. The time use survey is conducted by NSO. Yes, the first statement is true. NSO functions under CSO, which in turn functions under MOSPI. Lot of you are saying option, right? Two statements are correct. Let's see. NSO functions under CSO, which in turn functions under MOSPI. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. NSO functions under CSO? No. At the top, we have MOSPI. Please remember this. At the top, we have MOSPI. Below MOSPI, we have two divisions. One is basically the program implementation and the second one is NSO. Under NSO, there are two components. One is NSSO and the second one is CSO. So, does NSO function under CSO? No, this is incorrect. Done. The first time use survey was conducted in 2024. This is also incorrect. It was conducted in 2019, 2020, and the results were published in 2020. Of the three, only the first statement is correct. Right option is option A. Is everyone okay? A lot of you have given the option B as the correct answer. Please correct it. Now, a practice question for you. Distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. How can the care economy be brought into the monetized economy through women empowerment? And before I go forward, I know a lot of you look at the question and say, sir, the question seems similar. I think I've heard of the question somewhere. If you're thinking that, you're absolutely right. And if you're not thinking that, my dear, I guarantee that you have not seen the last 5 years mains question papers. This is an indicator that you have not seen the last 5 years UPSC GS paper 3 mains paper. Reason being, this is a previous year question. It was asked in 2023. The question was asked in 2023. That's the reason I'm saying. Right? This is one question for you to practice. And I know some of you will basically say, sir, if it is a PYQ, UPSC is not going to ask the same question again. So what is the use of practicing the same, right? Let's say practicing the answer writing for the question which is not going to be asked. If you're of that particular opinion, please take up this question. The second question, discuss how unpaid care work contributes to the systemic diversion of public resources away from care sectors such as health, childcare, and elder care. Suggest a way forward. A 15 marker question, 250 words. I've given you two questions. Pick up any one of them. This is a new question and the earlier is a PYQ. Okay, now let's go forward. Second article, security camps, the game changer in Maoist fight. Point number one, the government of India has set up a target of 31st March 2026, by which they want to eliminate this issue of Maoism in India. Now, in the context of this, very recently, a lot of newspaper articles have come in the newspapers. And I'm pretty sure you have gone through those particular articles when these were discussed by me as well as other faculties in the newspaper analysis every day. But there is one aspect of the fight, main aspect of the measures that was implemented by the government of India, which has mostly helped the government in order to eliminate the Maoist activities in the Dandakaranya region. What is this idea of a Dandakaranya forest? It basically, the idea of a Dandakaranya forest comes from Ramayana, right? Dandaka forest, where most of the time was spent, right, by Lord Rama and, right, let's say Sita Ma, etc. Now, in the context of the article, let's understand what are the important points. The government of India basically has set up security camps in multiple areas or the regions which are basically residing or where there is a lot of tribal population residing. In 1980s, this was basically a hotspot for Maoist activities. Even today, a lot of the districts where there's a Maoist activity, these are present here. The Dandakaranya region, which is mentioned here, basically covers the forest in Chhattisgarh, some amount of forest in Chhattisgarh, Telangana, right? I'm talking about the main states, by the way. Telangana, right? Andhra Pradesh for that matter, right? Or Madhya Pradesh for that matter, etc. So most of the, right, let's say Dandakaranya region, not Madhya Pradesh mainly, it is Odisha. Right? In addition to this, some forest is there, right, in Maharashtra, etc. But these are the most important states. So back in 1980s, the Dandakaranya region, right, basically was a hotspot for Maoist activities. Why? Tribal population presence in the region was very high. First one is the tribal population presence. Second one, this is also a region where a lot of minerals deposits are there, ores are present. And the third one, the administrative activities. The administrative activities presence in these particular regions was also very less. So because of the mixture of these particular factors, the presence of Maoism in this particular region has grown, and this is specifically the region where a lot of anti-Maoist activities or anti-Maoism, let's say, exercises have been conducted by the forces in recent times. As a result of this, have a look at this. As a result of this, the government data now shows that the violent incidents have reduced by more than 90%. Back in the year 2010, whatever incidences were reported of violent Maoist activities, it has fallen down by 90%. And not just this, the number of left-wing extremism affected districts also has fallen down. Back in the year 2010, the number was more than 126. And according to the latest data published by the government, there are hardly around 11 districts where we can see the LWE right activity, or basically called as the red corridor. Only three districts, Bijapur, Narayanpur and Sukma, right, in the Bastar region are categorized as most affected right districts right now by the government of India. Now, what actually has led to the reduction of these violent activities or violent incidences? The article simply says mainly it is driven by setting up of security camps. The main right reason is basically setting up of security camps. Why? Listen to the argument. Listen to me very carefully now. Point number one. More and more security camps were established in these particular regions. With more and more security camps being established, one, right, basically now the Maoists were worried, were afraid of, right, basically conducting their activities without any fear. Earlier, the presence of security forces was very less, and they could basically mobilize people, threaten the tribal population, right, try to spread the propaganda in this particular region. Now, with the presence of the security forces, there was a fear instilled in the minds of the Maoists that they can't conduct the activities as freely they used to conduct earlier. This is the first very important reason. The fear instilled in the minds of Maoists. The second important reason is with the presence of more and more security forces in the region, the population which was residing in the region now started slowly, right, to move towards the security forces, provide important inputs. Important inputs, right? Why the inputs are very important? These particular regions are rugged regions. These are very, very right rugged regions, mostly populated with the trees, and the region is not very easy for the security forces to maneuver. So the human intelligence inputs which were provided were also very important or very much necessary for the security forces to conduct multiple exercises here. The third important reason is along with the presence of security forces, various infrastructure was also developed in the region. For example, the telecom towers, right? The telecom towers were installed, the schools were constructed, the roads were constructed, hospitals were constructed. As a result of the presence of these kind of infrastructure, which is economic infrastructure as well as social welfare infrastructure, it started providing the right social welfare as well as other types of services, which has helped the population to come out of shell and participate more and more in other types of activities. That's a third reason. Fourth reason, the local administration. The local administration also has utilized the presence of the security forces to provide assurances to the local people, tribal population, to provide the necessary services to the tribal population residing in this particular region. So multiple factors have actually led to the let's say the reduction of the participation or let's say the Maoist activities in this particular region. But having said so, right, this is very important. Having said so, no doubt, the Maoist activity has come down. Lot of Maoists have laid down the arms, surrendered, have become part of the civilian population now. Now listen to me now. The writer simply says this is one aspect of the fight against Maoism. No doubt, many of the Maoists who have not laid down the arms, they have been killed, right? And many of the Maoists have surrendered arms, have become part of civilian population. But the government needs to ensure that the social welfare as well as the development activities, economic activities promotion is conducted even after the fight against Maoism. What will happen? Let's say hypothetically, after 31st March, let's assume there is absolutely no Maoist activities in this particular region, completely eliminated. But if the government simply stalls the development of the region, it will basically provide another opportunity for some other anti-social elements to mobilize the population against the administration. So first part of the fight is reducing the Maoist activity, reducing their influence, eliminating Maoism. But after you eliminate, the fight is not yet over. You need to ensure that these kind of activities do not repeat again. Right? So government has to ensure that the activities which will promote social welfare as well as the development growth will continue to be implemented in these particular regions. Done? So these are certain important points provided in the article here. Now based on this, please take up this particular question for mains answer writing practice. Establishment of security camps in the remote areas has altered the operational landscape of left-wing extremism. Examine the statement with reference to recent developments in the Dandakaranya region. 15 marker question in 250 words. Is everybody okay? Can I move on to the next article? Those present in the session, please do let me know. Can I move on to the next article? Done. Let's go forward. Center relaxes norms for startups to get funds from DSIR. DSIR stands for Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. DSIR, please understand, is implementing an initiative. That is the Industrial Research and Development Promotion Program. IRDPP. I repeat the full form here. Industrial Research and Development Promotion Program. There is an initiative which is being implemented by IRDPP. And what are the components of this particular initiative? Please make a note of this. Right, the components under the IRDPP, there are 4. One is recognition of in-house R&D units, scientific and industrial research organization, public funded research institution, fiscal incentives for scientific research. There are 4 components. And under this particular 4 components, there is a promotion of deep tech startups. There is a promotion being done by the government for deep tech startups. Under the initiative, basically the government says the deep tech startups can get assistance of up to 1 crore rupees. I repeat, the deep tech startups can get assistance up to 1 crore rupees. But until now, there was one issue. These particular deep tech startups will have to prove that they are viable by functioning for at least 3 years. They should ensure that they have basically a working, let's say they have working conditions, they are operational, they are financially viable, and that particular time period was at least 3 years. So show that you are financially viable for at least 3 years, and then you become eligible for the funds under this initiative. But in case of India, listen to me carefully, let's look at the larger picture here. In case of India, there is already a concern that we do not have sufficient number of deep techs. Can anybody tell me before I go forward, can anybody tell me what is a deep tech? Let me see. What is a deep tech? Quickly, please tell me what is a deep tech. Anybody? Deep tech essentially are those particular entities which will leverage advanced technologies, to provide solutions to complex problems. Remember these particular terms. Throw these particular terms in your definition, you will get good marks. Simple, right? What is a deep tech? These are essentially the companies, institutes, which will use advanced technology to provide solutions to complex problems. Right? Best example, a lot of your writing answer, which are examples, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, etc. All of these are examples of deep tech. Right? For example, in case of India, Krutrim, all of you heard of the entity named Krutrim AI? That was one example of a deep tech. Right? So multiple examples are there in India. So argument is simple. One, in case of India, the number of deep tech companies are very, very less. According to one estimates, India has just over 1,000 startups in the deep techs. And those who are wondering, sir, but 1,000 is a very large number. Compare this with China. In China, there are more than 6,000 deep techs or deep tech companies, especially startups. And within this, more than 100 are already listed. More than 100 are already listed in the stock market there. So one, presence of the deep tech companies are very, very less in India. And second, very difficult to attract funding. Very difficult to attract funding because against, let's say, multiple other business activities. For example, 10-minute delivery, which is there in the discussion in recent times, right? Against quick commerce, when you compare deep tech, investment requirements are very, very high. And second, unlike other, right, let's say startups, you cannot expect quick returns, higher quick returns when you invest in deep tech. And that's a precise reason the investment by the venture capitalist in the deep tech in India is very, very less. And that is a precise reason the government of India earlier launched an initiative RDI. How many of you remember what is RDI scheme? Research and Development, right, initiative, RDI scheme, where the government of India has allocated 1 lakh crore rupees. The government is targeting even the deep tech companies there. The government is targeting providing investment assistance to the deep tech companies. So, continuing the initiative to promote deep techs now, the government of India has relaxed the norms for the deep tech startups. What was the norm? You will have to be sustainable and viable for a period of 3 years. You'll have to have data to prove that. You'll have to have documents to prove that. Now, this particular condition has been relaxed. This particular condition has been relaxed, which will basically promote, right, let's say the deep tech startups to get assistance, the funding assistance from the DSIR. Everybody's okay? Now, based on this, I've given an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me what is the answer quickly. IRDPP its scheme is under the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. It has component to promote deep tech startups. The government has notified the National Deep Tech Startup Policy in 2023. Let me see how many of you can give the correct answer to this particular MCQ. A lot of you will be confused with the third statement. Confused in the sense, I have not given you any kind of information associated with the third statement. IRDPP scheme is under the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Incorrect. IRDPP scheme is under the DSIR, which functions under Ministry of Science Technology. Under the Ministry of Science and Technology. It has a component to promote deep tech startups. Yes, that is also true. Right. Third one, the government has notified the National Deep Tech Startup Policy, NDT-SP. This particular policy was put out by the government for public consultation back in the year 2023. I repeat, this particular policy, which was prepared by the Principal Scientific Advisor, PSA, was put out by the government back in the year 2023 for public comments, public consultation. After that, the government of India has not notified. I hope you understand the difference between putting it out for consultation and then notifying it. Right now, is this particular policy notified by the government? No, it has been put out for the public consultation. No notification of this particular policy. So, of the three statement, second one is the correct. First and third are incorrect. Right option for the question will be option A. Is everybody okay with the right? Let's say solution to the answer. Can I go solution to the question? Can I go forward to the next question now or the next article now? Please do let me know in the chat section. Can I move on to the next article? Okay, great. With Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, Minister calls for desilting of Salal Reservoir. Now, what is the importance of this article? Please have a look at this particular map. Basically, it provides certain information regarding the Indus Water Treaty. According to the Indus Water Treaty, IWT, the three western rivers have been given to Pakistan. For usage, it has been given to Pakistan. And the three eastern rivers have been given to India. Those who are simply saying, sir, magnified, I want to look at the big, right? Let's say, I want to look at the rivers carefully. Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, these are the three western rivers, right, allocated to Pakistan for usage. And the three eastern rivers, Ravi, Bias and Satluj, have been given to India. Now, very recently, certain important policy announcements you need to make a note. First important one, after the Pahalgam terror attack, The government of India basically put the IWT in abeyance. Right? What is the meaning of it? The government of India simply said, we are not going to follow the provisions which are given under the IWT. And the reason that was given by the government was simple. Pakistan promotes terrorism. Pakistan exports terrorism to India. The water as well as the blood cannot flow together. We cannot keep on accepting these kind of conditions when Pakistan is right affecting our let's say security. So citing this, the IWT was put under abeyance. And after that, listen to me carefully. The government of India has announced right a project, the hydropower project, the Dal Hasti. This was there in the newspaper last week. Dal Hasti 2. Right? It has announced a power project, hydroelectric power project, Dal Hasti 2. Why it is called as Dal Hasti 2? Dal Hasti 2 because there is already one project which is present, Dal Hasti. Now this is a second power project. Again I am saying hydroelectric power project, Dal Hasti 2. This has been announced on the river Chenab. This has been announced on the river Chenab. And not just this, the government also has announced that it will be desilting. It will be desilting multiple reservoirs. What do you mean by desilting? Whenever you read about river flow, you will come across this concept that river, when it is flowing from one region to another region, it will keep on collecting certain material. And when you have constructed a reservoir, this particular material will be deposited. Now the government of India's argument is, one, we have put the IWT in abeyance. We are not going to follow the provisions under IWT, which means now we are free to conduct the desilting activities at many of these particular hydroelectric projects which are constructed on these rivers, that is Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. Right? And once you conduct the desilting activities, and as usual, Pakistan has opposed it, but government of India simply stated, we have put the IWT in abeyance. The argument here is very simple. Once you conduct the desilting activity, which means the silt will be removed from the reservoir region, the depth of the water that can be stored in the reservoir, it will increase. And with this kind of desilting activity, the government of India simply says we will be able to store water and we will be able to produce more electricity. That is basically the argument that has been put forward by the government. And with this, one more right hydroelectric project, that is a Salal hydroelectric project, is into discussion now. The Salal hydroelectric project is, or Salal power project is operated by National Hydro Power Corporation, NHPC, please remember. And it is constructed on Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir. So these are certain important points associated with the IWT abeyance and the desilting that has been announced by the government. Now, please solve the question, please solve the MCQ and tell me the answer very quickly. As per Indus Water Treaty, India was given the rights to use which of the following rivers? It should not be difficult. You already know the answer. Please tell the answer very quickly. Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj and Jhelum. Right? Ravi, Beas and Satluj. 2, 3, 4 are correct. Right option for the question will be option B here. Right? Thanks a lot. None of you made a mistake. All of you who have given the answer, all of you have given the correct answer. So pat yourself on the back. Let me go to the next article. Venezuela crisis unlikely to hit India's energy security. What are the important points here? In the last 2 to 3 days, I'm pretty sure all of you know what is happening in Venezuela. Right? Editorial was also on that. Very large article on that. So repetition, I don't want to cover the same thing again. But what is the important point here? With, right, let's say changes that are happening in Venezuela, the chaos that has happened in Venezuela, will it have any kind of impact on India's energy security? And when I say India's energy security, what is the component? I'm referring to basically the crude oil imports. The crude oil imports. What is the importance of this? India historically has been importer of crude oil. According to the latest estimates, more than 80% of the crude oil requirement we import from rest of the world. And when you talk about the imports, the question naturally arises, do we import anything from Venezuela? Because with the instability that has been caused in this particular country, there is expected instability in the crude oil production in the coming days, and that to a certain extent will have an impact in the global market as well. So how much of the crude oil imports that are done by India are coming from Venezuela? Hardly around 0.3%. In this year, hardly around 0.3% of the crude oil imports that are done by India have come from Venezuela, which means the likely impact of the activities that are taking place in Venezuela on the Indian economy, specifically the India's energy security scenario, will be negligible. It will be negligible, right? That is basically an update. In addition to that, whenever you talk about the crude oil in Venezuela, please remember, whenever there is a discussion on crude oil, there will be light crude oil, moderate crude oil, and heavy crude oil. Please remember, the crude oil that is produced in Venezuela is heavy crude. Please remember this. It's not light crude, it's heavy crude. Heavy, or else they will also use one more term, sour crude. Heavy, or else they will also use one more term, sour crude, which has very high sulfur content. And why I'm talking about this, a lot of the discussion that has happened in the recent times with capturing of the president of Venezuela, a lot of the discussion is about drugs. But many experts argue it is not about the drugs. It is in fact about Venezuela crude. It is in fact about crude in Venezuela. Reason being, Venezuela houses the highest amount of reserves of crude. Simple. It houses the highest amount of crude, and this particular crude is a specific heavy crude, not light, heavy crude or sour crude. Right? This kind of a crude is generally found in Canada, it is found in Venezuela, and it is found in Russia. Suddenly there is a linkage now, right? Canada, it is found in, let's say not USA basically shale oil now, right? So in Canada, in Venezuela, and now in Russia. And that's a precise reason the Russian crude oil imports to India are also connected to this. That is what grade, right? Or what kind of a crude oil is it? And there are very few refineries around the world, very few. A lot of them are concentrated in USA. In case of India, are there any refineries to refine this kind of a crude oil? Yes, we have one at Reliance, Jamnagar. In the context of India and Russia, very often you will come across Reliance company getting the maximum benefit. Jamnagar, the Reliance refinery, right, is specialized for this kind of a crude. Or for that matter, even other entities, public sector entities, but mainly it is driven by Reliance. So these are certain important points associated with this article. Please make a note, right? The graph here basically provides information of how much of the crude oil we have imported from Venezuela over a period of time, that is in the last 10 years. What you will observe is there is a consistent decline, right? There is a huge decline in terms of how much of the crude oil we are importing from Venezuela. This has happened because of the sanctions which were imposed by USA on this particular economy. Okay. Now, based on this, please solve the MCQ and tell me what is the answer. And I know some of you look at the MCQ and simply say, sir, you discussed about Venezuela and you're asking question on rice. How is that possible? Right? No. Don't ask questions like this. My dear, in today's newspaper, there was one article, not much important because the same things were repeated. That is the Minister for Agriculture, the Union Government Minister for Agriculture gave a statement regarding Manrega. And in the last column, those who have seen that article, they will realize in the last column, there was one piece of information based on which I have given the question. And as expected, some of you, or I should say, a large chunk of you are saying China is the largest producer of rice. That's the reason I said this is an update. China is not the correct answer. India is the correct answer for the question. India is the correct answer. Which of the following is the highest producer of rice? India. According to the latest data which has been published by the government, India has produced 150 million tons of rice. 150 million tons of rice. Against this, China has produced somewhere around 145 million tons of rice. That's the reason the Minister for Agriculture has given a statement. India now has become the largest producer of rice in the global market. Is everybody okay? Those who have given the answer B as the correct answer, are you okay with the argument? Please do let me know. And those who are wondering, sir, question on Venezuela. You discussed about Venezuela, jump to rice. Please tell me or give me a question on Venezuela. Here is the question on Venezuela. Please tell me what is the key answer. Consider the following statements. USA is the largest producer of crude oil. Indian imports of crude from Venezuela have consistently increased in the last 10 years. Venezuela produces mainly the light crude. How many of the statements are true? Please do let me know. 7007 PK says option A, right? Some of you are saying option D. Some are saying A, some are saying option D. Okay. Let's start. USA is the largest producer of the crude oil. This is correct, by the way. Currently, it is the USA. Currently, it is the USA which is the largest producer of crude oil. Those who have given option D, be very careful. Because you will be thinking, sir, I thought it was one of the OPEC members. I thought it was, right, one country in the Middle East. I thought it was Saudi. I thought it was this, etc. No, USA, thanks to the shale oil technology, it is the largest producer of the crude oil now. It is the largest producer. But listen to me very carefully. Despite being the largest producer, USA also imports crude. Is my statement true? I'm sorry, is my statement clear to all of you? Please do let me know. Despite being the largest producer, USA imports crude. Please be careful. Question can be asked in the prelims. Indian imports of crude from Venezuela have consistently increased in the last 10 years. No, this is incorrect. Venezuela produces mainly the light crude. No, it is heavy. Heavy. Right, heavy crude or sour crude has very high sulfur content. So first statement is true. Right option for the question will be option A. Let me go to the next article. I have taken two articles from Indian Express. Let's discuss. The chief, right, or let's say the head of company X, the social media company X, Mr. Elon Musk, has given a statement regarding the content that is present on the Grok. In the last 1 week, there has been a lot of discussion associated with this. What is the issue? On the 25th of December, a new feature was unveiled, was introduced by the company X, that is basically connected to Grok. Because Grok is, right, a AI version, X is the platform. Under this, you can take a photo and make changes to the photo. For example, let's say hypothetically, you can take my photo, right now, put it on the Grok and simply say, right, place this particular photo alongside Mr. Nicolas Maduro. Right, Mr. Nicolas Maduro will be sitting and I will also be standing or sitting beside Mr. Nicolas Maduro. So these kind of changes you can do using the new feature of a Grok. But as usual, whenever there is a technology, there is also abuse of the technology. There are multiple instances where people took the photos of women, even children in many instances, and they prompted the Grok to create, right, certain photos without the consent. And these particular photos were obscene photo, obscene content. And this particular issue was taken up by Ministry of Electronics. MeitY issued a directive to the company X, asked the company X to give a reply in 72 hours regarding, right, what measures will be taken by the company to remove such obscene content. And it has also happened in a time period where Supreme Court of India is hearing a case, hearing a petition, right, where there is a discussion about obscene content. Supreme Court has asked Government of India as to what reforms they are going to implement to ensure the obscene content will not be, right, let's say posted, right, or downloaded or circulated online. So issue here is simple, right, this particular feature, and listen to me carefully, similar features, similar, not the same, similar features are available in other apps as well. Other, right, let's say the chatbots such as AI, ChatGPT's AI or Gemini of Google, similar features are available. But there are certain filters, right? If I want to create an obscene photo, the filters will not allow me to create such kind of photographs. Whereas in case of Groks, such filters were removed. Basically, his argument is free speech. And, right, these kind of, let's say, misuse of the technology has taken place in India. Now, what is the, right, let's say the reply that has been given by the company X? It has stated that such obscene content will be taken down very soon. Illegal content, they have termed it as illegal content. And the people who are using the Grok for such kind of a content will be barred, will be removed permanently from using, right, the platform X. Is everybody okay? And in the context of this, the Ministry of Electronics actually threatened the company. Threatened in the sense, there's a term called as safe harbor rule. And I'm pretty sure you've heard of this umpteen times now, right? Umpteen times, safe harbor rule. Argument is X is an intermediary. It is platform which is providing a place for others to post something. And if something is posted on the platform, it is not the problem of the intermediary, but it is a problem of the, right, let's say the person who is posting it. So there would be protection provided to the intermediary. That is a safe harbor. Government of India simply stated, because you are simply allowing the usage of the technology like this, we might state, or we might simply say that you are violating the rules, right, under the Information Technology Act of 2000 and the Information Technology rules, and we will remove the safe harbor protection that has been accorded to you as an intermediary, right? And now this is a reply which has been provided, right, by the company X. But if you ask me, my personal opinion is that, is it just the company that is supposed to be held liable for this? No, it is not just the company, it is also the users, right? In Hindi there is a saying, no, ek haath se tali nahi bajti, right? And the people from, right, people who do not know Hindi, basically it means, right, a clap cannot be done only with a single hand. You need both of the hands for a clap, right? So argument is the users as well as the intermediary both are responsible for this kind of outcome where there is an abuse of the technology. Done? Okay. Let me go forward. Nagar and Indore. Nagar, now there are multiple cases of typhoid. There are multiple reported cases of typhoid. Now, after the incidents or after what happened in Indore, that is Madhya Pradesh, after what happened in Indore, where multiple people have been admitted to hospital, right? Many people have lost lives because of consumption of contaminated water. Now, there is one more case which has taken place in Nagar, where multiple people have been admitted because there is a sudden surge of typhoid. There is sudden surge of typhoid cases. And what is the reason? Generally, this kind of a, right, sudden surge happens whenever there is a spread in the bacterial infection. Right? The typhoid, let's say there are piped water supply, the pipes are there, and along with the same, right, let's say pipes, there are also other pipes which will carry sewage. If there is a leakage in these particular pipes, these bacteria will enter into the drinking water supply. People will consume and, right, they will basically have this kind of a bacterial infection which will lead to typhoid. Right, so there are multiple cases where people have been admitted, more than 100 cases in Nagar now. So Government of India, right, basically the Home Minister has directed the state government and the local administration to basically address this particular issue of the contaminated drinking water which is taking place in Nagar now. Right, so these are certain important points associated with the article. Right, next, just right, a data set which you can use to write a mains answer. India loses 0.4% of its GDP every year because of natural disaster. Please remember this. 0.4% of its GDP. 0.4% of India's GDP is lost because of various disasters. For example, let's say floods, which will cause a destruction of the standing crops, which will lead to loss of lives, which will destroy a lot of social infrastructure as well as economic infrastructure. As a result of all of this, according to an estimate, 0.4% of India's GDP is lost every year, right, because of this. Just a factual data set. Please remember this. And those are worried, sir, how do I remember? Download the PPT, which will be uploaded after the session on the Telegram channel, and use the PPT. Okay. Now, next, one more article from Indian Express. Somnath Swabhiman Parv, 1000 years of unbroken faith. Right, 1000 years of unbroken faith. The Prime Minister has written this particular article which has appeared in different newspapers today. Different newspapers. Not in Hindu, but other newspapers. I've taken this article from Indian Express. Now, what are the important points that is relevant for UPSC examination? These are the important points. Please remember them. Because the Prime Minister has spoken about the Somnath temple, suddenly the question can be asked in GS paper 1. It can be asked in GS paper 1, or it can be asked, that is mains I was talking, or it can be asked in the prelims, that is simply GS paper. Now, what are the important points? Somnath temple in Gujarat is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas which are dedicated to Lord Shiva. It is located in Prabhaspatan near Veeraval in the Gir Somanatha district in the Arabian Sea coast. It is located at the Triveni Sangam of rivers, that is three rivers, the Kapila, Hiran as well as Saraswati. It features, this can be asked in the prelims, Chalukya style, Solanki style architecture in its current form. Right after independence, it was rebuilt in 1951. Right, so it has completed 75 years of opening to public, and it has also completed 1000 years. Why is the term 1000 years mentioned in the heading of the article? Right, all of remember, right, 1000 years ago in your history classes you would have read about this. Right, there were attacks which were conducted on this particular temple. Right, 1000 years ago, the Muhammad of Ghazni invaded India and attacks were conducted on this particular temple. So these are certain important points associated with the Somnath temple, which are very important now. And before I go forward, here is a tip. Whenever Prime Minister emphasizes on something, that particular topic automatically becomes important for your UPSC exams. I'll give you one example. Forget about Somnath temple now because I've already discussed. Very recently, the Prime Minister also spoke about antimicrobial resistance in India. How many of you have heard or read about it? Antimicrobial resistance. The argument of the Prime Minister was, we keep on taking too many pills. We keep on taking too many antibiotics. And if you have seen the question papers in the recent times, there has not been much emphasis on this particular topic. Right, suddenly this year or next year, because the Prime Minister has spoken about it, there can be a question on it. So please be very careful. Right, these are the tricks or the tips that will make your preparation much more easier. Next article, combat aircraft timely delivery. Right, the issue is very simple. The Indian Air Force has placed orders for multiple light combat aircrafts, Tejas. The LCA orders which have been placed by the Indian Air Force, there is a delay in providing or delivering these particular aircrafts. And the Air Force, Indian Air Force, on the other side is facing issue. What is the issue? It has aging warplanes. And in this particular situation, wherein on one side, we are being threatened by Pakistan, and on the other side, China is also sitting. It has claimed multiple times in recent duration itself, or in recent times itself. It has raised the claim over Ladakh, right, Arunachal Pradesh, etc. So argument is, when we are having these kind of situation and we have aging, right, let's say the force that is aging warplanes, there is a need to ensure we will have, right, the new planes replacing the old warplanes. And the concern, this is not the first time, by the way. The Air Force head or the Air Chief Marshal, this is not the first time that he is raising this particular concern. Earlier, when the, right, let's say the Air Force show was conducted in Bangalore, the same sentence was, right, let's say reiterated. The same argument was reiterated by the head of Air Force. So overall, right, how many orders have been placed for the light combat aircraft? The Tejas Mk1. Tejas Mk1, the Indian Air Force has placed an order for 40. And Tejas Mk1A, right, there are totally the orders of 180 planes. So the concern is, it's been multiple years, especially this one, Tejas Mk1, as well as the first order of 83 Mk1A, which were placed multiple years ago, they are yet to be delivered. And on the other side, if you look at the company, that is HAL, which is involved in the manufacturing of this, their argument is they are facing a problem because they are not able to get access to engines. They are not able to get access to engines. A lot of these particular engines, it takes a lot of time to manufacture, source the components, etc. they are facing an issue with respect to getting access to the engines. That's the reason there is a delay in the delivery, right? So these are certain important points associated with this. Please have a look at it. And the last article, just an update. Bangladesh now, right? The Bangladesh Cricket Board now says it will not be sending its team to the T20 World Cup to participate in the matches which were scheduled in India. In the upcoming T20 World Cup, there are multiple matches where Bangladesh was supposed to play these games in India. Now, the Bangladesh Cricket Board, after the incidents of the BCCI intervening and asking the Kolkata Knight Riders to drop a Bangladeshi player, now the Bangladesh Cricket Board has given a statement saying that we are worried. Right? Look at the irony. The Bangladesh Cricket Board says they are worried about the safety of their players in India when they're playing matches. So their argument is all these particular matches should be shifted out of India to other country. And T20 World Cup is supposed to be hosted in India as well as Sri Lanka. So this particular country, that is Bangladesh, has become the second country after Pakistan to raise this kind of an issue and asking the ICC to move the matches out of India. Right. So these are certain important updates regarding what is happening between India and Bangladesh. Done. Right. So these are the 11 articles I wanted to cover in today's particular session, along with certain concepts as well as questions. If you have any kind of doubts, please do let me know. And if you have liked the discussion that I've had, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Any doubts? Okay, done then. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you tomorrow at the same time.